Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well on this Monday. I've got a lot of information to share today about what's happening in the cosmos and what we're experiencing here on the Earth plane and all of the triggers that are happening right now. And so the main thing that I want to share with you all about today is this idea of the original wound and separation. But a little bit of backstory here. So, we're coming off of about an 8 day period of heightened focus on how we show up in relationship and how we communicate in relationship. If you heard or saw any of my posts from last week, I talked about this need for really hard conversations that's happening right now. And a lot of what we're reconciling is any separation that we have, meaning any separation that we feel in our life between ourselves and the people around us, and ourselves and the greater collective. And this wound of separation is what I like to call the original wound. And it goes back to the very beginning of time, right? The moment that Source decided to separate from itself and know itself as a polarity, we experience separation. And every time we incarnate on this planet, we go through a veil of amnesia where we forget that we are Source. We forget that we are God consciousness. We forget that we are creator beings. And we incarnate and we move through that veil of amnesia, incarnate, and then we work our entire lives to get back to the understanding that we are Source beings. And so, this original wound is what I see us trying to reconcile in this October cycle. We have some major endings happening right now of really long, and when I say really long, I mean hundreds of thousands of years trauma cycles. And there's a connection here between the original wound idea of separation and the fall of Atlantis. And I'm in the midst right now of preparing to teach a new course that starts in November called I Am Starseed. And it focuses a lot on our galactic history and the traumas that we've experienced way in our past, way more than our known history here on the earth. And I keep inquiring with my guides about why now, because the idea for this course and the title and the information for it actually came in July. And I was very clearly told it's not time to release it yet. It's not time to release it yet. It's not time to release it yet because I asked a lot. Because I had people that were asking me when it was going to be launched because the title came in and I shared it and then that was it. And we are moving through a window now in this last quarter of 2021 where we are revisiting some of these really old stories, these really old traumas from our galactic past, from our Atlantean and our Lemurian past. And one of the things that keeps coming up that I keep seeing in session with people and I keep getting in my own meditation that I'm working on is some of the failed attempts that we've had of holding fifth dimensional consciousness, which is where we're headed as a collective right now. Some of the failed attempts that we've had of holding that consciousness and the trauma that we've all experienced from that. And so I want to give you a little bit of a history lesson here on Atlantis for just a moment so that you can start to see that this cycle that we're moving through right now is not new. This energy that we're clearing, this trauma that we're clearing of separation right now, where everybody feels really divided, is not new at all. Okay. So this energy of separation goes all the way back to when we incarnated, but it has been reactivated every time every time we've experienced a trauma and a dissolution of a collective consciousness that came together in a higher frequency. And so let's talk about Atlantis. Okay, so there were five different versions of Atlantis over a multi-thousand year period. Okay, this energy of Atlantis that we incarnated into, many of us that are doing this work, doing this spiritual work, trying to activate ourselves into a higher frequency, we were a part of the Atlantean experiments. Those existed for several thousand years, right? Probably about 60 to 70, if not more, thousands of years. The very last incarnation of Atlantis. The last 10,000 years was what they call the golden age of Atlantis. Okay. This is when we were able to hold that fifth dimensional frequency. Everybody knew that they were creator beings. Everybody was in bliss. Everybody was in utopia, and everything was peaceful. And there was a point in time where, because Atlantis existed kind of in its own experimental bubble on Earth, that it was separate from the rest of collective consciousness on Earth that was happening at the time. There were several other groups that existed on Earth at that time, and Atlantis was kind of on its own. Okay. Atlantis was off holding this fifth dimensional frequency on its own. And at some point, the difference between the frequency in Atlantis, which was a fifth dimensional frequency, and the lower frequency on the rest of the planet became too large. And there was an understanding that something needed to shift. And rather than allowing that process to take place naturally, there were certain factions within Atlantis who decided that they needed to protect this fifth dimensional frequency. They needed to hold the information sacred, the spiritual teachings sacred. And when they made the decision to pull out of their open community that they were a part of and separate, it started us on a path of separation from these higher spiritual teachings. Okay. And as that happened, as they separated and made a decision that says, oh, I think I know what's best for everybody. We need to separate and protect these teachings. And then we need to cut the rest of Atlantis off from these teachings and hold them sacred so that we protect them. Even though they were doing that from a place of believing that they were healing and protecting these teachings and doing what's best for everybody, they made a decision that separated the rest of Atlantis from their true nature. And the moment that that decision was made, we started on a course in our collective human experience of separation, of not remembering that we are source beings, of not remembering that we are creator beings. And that group who made that decision with the best of intentions is the same energy that we are decoupling from now, right? If you look across what's happening on the planet, where there are so many things that are creating separation, there are so many decisions being made that are creating separation, that's creating this divide and conquer energy, then you start to understand that this decision that was made in Atlantis has had a very lasting impact on our collective consciousness. And so what we're trying to reconcile right now with all of these places of separation, all of these pieces of polarity, all of these decisions that we're having to make that make us feel like we're going to be separate from other people, is a reconciliation of that original wound that goes even further back than Atlantis, right? The original wound of separating from source, but then was reinforced in a very strong way in our time on Atlantis. And so much of the energy that we're seeing being brought to light, and so much of the things that we're seeing come forward where we're very confused at why we're being forced to make decisions that don't feel in alignment with us, right? Those energies have been at play since the fall of Atlantis. And it's very easy to want to vilify the people who are continuing those energetic patterns. But it can be helpful to understand that they are just playing a role, right? They are playing a role in continuing to try to push these energies forward so that we can disconnect from them. Okay, certain things have to get really loud here on the earth plane for us to pay attention and us to make different decisions and us to choose something else. And so it's best if we don't spend a lot of time vilifying the people who are perpetuating these old energies, and instead shift our focus away from what they're trying to do in separating us and focus on building something new, right? And so this is where the new earth grid comes in. This is where fifth dimensional consciousness comes in. This is where doing our spiritual work and our shadow work starts to come in. And so when you focus over here on what's being created and not what's falling down, not what's breaking away, not what trauma is being cleared. It's much easier to hold a vibration of peace and acceptance and love and hope. But if you spend a lot of time focusing on these energies that are falling away, right? These are coming to the surface in a really loud way because they are falling away. This idea of separation is falling away. I can't say that enough times. When we shift our focus away from that and towards what we're moving towards, which is unity consciousness, which is fifth dimensional frequency, which is love and peace and connection and community and autonomy and sovereignty and all these things that we know we want. When we focus there, we are disempowering this energy over here that's clearing out. And so let me give you an example to make it really personal for you. So when you're moving through a clearing, and let's say there's a pattern in your life that you know needs to shift, you know it's coming from an old place of trauma and you want it to shift. The more you focus on the pattern, the more you focus and attach to trying to clear that pattern, the longer you stay stuck in that pattern, in that cycle. But the moment that you say, wow, I'm not attached to this pattern anymore. I'm surrendering to however it wants to clear out of my life. I'm surrendering to what needs to clear out of my life that was born of that pattern. And I'm completely unattached. I'm completely neutral. We shift very quickly. The moment that you detach is the moment that you shift. And so this is no different. If you focus on all of the ways that we are in separation, if you focus on all of the things that are going wrong, if you focus on all of the things that are not working right now, you are attaching to the reality that is falling away and you are keeping it here. And so we have to be very, very diligent right now. And this is one of the themes of October, to live our truth. And our inherent truth is that we are not separate from source. Our inherent truth is that we are source beings, that we are creator beings, and that we are here to live heaven on earth. That's our inherent truth. Everything else is just noise. Everything else is just out there trying to create more separation, trying to create more division. And the more energy we give to it, the more hooked in we are to those things that are falling away. And so right now, this trauma that we experienced in Atlantis, where we lived in this utopia, and it fell down, it fell apart because of some decisions of some elites who felt like they were making the best decision for the collective. We are living that right now. We are reliving that trauma right now. And there's a lot of people at the top of the house that think that they know what is best for us. They think that they can make decisions for us and that they're protecting us. And I don't believe that everybody at the top of the house has malicious intent. I believe that 90% of them are just following this energetic pattern that has existed for a really, really long time. And the more that we can say, I forgive them, I see that they're just a player in an old paradigm that's breaking away, and maybe even have empathy for them, right? The easier it is for us to focus on what we're building, which is something brand new. And it's really important that we stay diligent in that, because it's very easy to get wrapped up in the anger. It's very easy to get wrapped up in the story of what's happening, of what's falling away. But we have an opportunity right now to not play into that, right? Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be easy. There's so many things that are happening right now that need to happen because our systems need to change, that are creating constriction, right? We have to make some tough choices sometimes. We have to put our energy elsewhere, and sometimes leave things behind that once were very comfortable and safe for us. But that is what happens when you create something new. You don't want to create from where you came from, right? This is really important that we understand this right now. And so I'm seeing this play out on an individual level for people in relationships, because there are so many stories that we carry as individuals where we have played into this victim oppressor paradigm that is clearing on the broader level, okay? And so at an individual level, we have to strip that victim story out of our consciousness. We have to move beyond that on an individual level so that we can be prepared to do that on a global consciousness level. So if it's been really loud for you recently where you're feeling unseen, unheard, not a priority, not loved, if you're feeling like there's a disparity, inequality in your relationships, know that you are clearing this on an individual level and how it's showing up in your life so that you can clear it at a collective level as well. Okay? So this is the theme. This is what's happening right now. I know that the last week and a half has been probably pretty challenging for many of you. It's been super challenging for me. There's so much density coming to the surface to be released because this trauma that we've all experienced, where we've all felt separate for so long, is embedded in our cellular memory, right? This is many, many generations of separation that we're clearing in order to come back to a place of wholeness within so that we can be in a place of wholeness and unity without. So the intensity that you're feeling right now may be high, okay? But keep coming back to what helps you feel unified, what helps you feel whole. Keep coming back to the practices that support you, to the relationships where you feel supported. Keep coming back and reaffirming that. Keep calling more of that in so that you can come back to a grounded and whole place. And so this topic of our Atlantean and Lemurian history is one module of the 6 that I'm going to be teaching in my new course called I Am Starseed. There's a lot of stuff that's coming through in this course, and it's a very different frequency that I'm bringing in for this. I've never taught anything like what's coming, and I don't know if I'll ever teach anything like this again, but it's coming for this course. And we're going to be exploring our galactic history. We're going to be looking at all of our trauma stories from all of our origin points within our galactic history. We're going to be looking at brain waves and frequency and sound and how we can use that to stay unified and whole. We're going to be working with the Atlantean and Lemurian crystalline activations. There's all kinds of like really woo stuff coming in for this course. This is a big deal for me to put this out, because this is moving outside of my comfort zone a little bit into an expanded conversation that's more than just our human history, more than what we're aware of in our history books. And it's important right now because we have to move through a clearing on a lot of this stuff so that we can hold the new earth paradigm. And, the other thing in this course is that there's this idea that if we can come together and do this as a collective, right, as a group of people, we can move through this trauma a lot faster and a lot more ease. And so that's really why it's coming now, because I know that some of you need this support. And I know a lot of you are building brand new things. You're leaving jobs. You're creating new ways of being for yourself and your family. And there may be fear that's present for you. And know that a lot of that fear is because of these failed attempts that we've had in the past, but we're not going to fail this time. The train has already left the station. It's already happening. We're along for the ride, and let's make the ride as joyful as possible. So if you want more information about that class, just check out the link in the comments below or in the description of this video. And I'm always available for one-on-one sessions and healing circles that we have every month. So go to our YouTube page or go to our Facebook page or our zenwithinacademy.com page, and you can find out all the information about what we're working on as a collective and community right now. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you soon, maybe from the beach. I'm headed to the beach later this week. I'll try to do a live video from there if something important comes in to share with you all. Have a great week. Thanks for watching.